We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Going to be getting into game number 2 between Synergy and what we're going to be calling, at least me, Team PL. Game number 1 was Synergy always felt like they had a very, very slight lead, a little bit of momentum. Team PL took a couple engagements and had a couple of objective-based decisions that were able to grant them windows of opportunity. But it seems like Synergy was always able to be just slightly ahead of Team PL. And through that, their late-game decision-making was just outright superior. They were able to get pickoffs. They were able to pick up the Orb Prime. And with one concerted push, it was that seamless crowd control that they had, Gyms. Anytime someone was hit by either a tether, a stasis bomb, or a boulder, that target almost always died.
It was just incredibly strong team play coming out from Team Synergy. And you could see that these guys knew exactly how to line up their abilities perfectly every single time. As you mentioned, rock, bomb, into tether, into Fury of the Heavens, and that was it. Like, there wasn't much. You can't really do much with that unless you're running things like a purity sensor. But then the next one hits, and you can't stop the second one. You can stop one of them, but they're being staggered so effectively that there wasn't much more that PolacyZpolskiPL could actually really do.
Well, guys, let's get into the draft. And as we transition into said draft, Matcherino, exclamation mark Matcherino, coupon code PCLEU, then the number 4. I'm not too sure if we have any coupons left there. We'll double check with our admins there. But nonetheless, try. It only takes 30 seconds, giving these guys a little bit of cash to fight over. More so, it's for pride and bragging rights, but obviously a little bit of coin in the pocket can go not only some motivation, but maybe go out and get a pizza, hang out with friends, and get these guys a little bit more to fight for here. So the bans before in this weren't, I mean, we saw both Decker Bellica for the first time in the broadcast today, with Bellica being picked very late into the draft here, Gyms. As far as the bans go, I'm wondering if we're going to see a switch up as it was. Okay, right as I was about to say that, we saw Synergy have a very specific targeted ban of Countess, and they're going to do that once again, just outright respect.
Yeah, I don't think the Morigesh was too much of an issue for them during that game. Ku did some really good plays on Morigesh, but overall, I don't think it warranted too much of a change for Synergy to go, we want him to allow him to have this preferred pick. We just want to remove him. He doesn't get this preferred pick, and it also leaves everything else up in the open for them to pick for themselves.
Bellica first picked here by Synergy. Bellica is one of those heroes who is played in a versatile way here at the Competitive League. Support or mid laner is generally where we see here. So, strong hero, doesn't reveal your lanes, still leaves some ambiguity, and doesn't show your cards here. Now, Team PL have the opportunity here to do what they did essentially in the last draft, and that is go, I believe it was Severog Kwong. And with Grux banned out, that really limits offlaners and junglers at that stage. And I won't be surprised to see them do that. Obviously, that means Decker will be available to Synergy. But I'm not sure. They're going to have to decide, what are they going to put more priority into? Picking up that Decker, or are they going to go with a potential offlane jungler and really restrict Synergy's hero pool in those roles, respectively?
I'm not too sure. I think Decker is such a strong pick. But the thing is, even if you get the Quang and leave Decker up, you still can get a Narbash. Satori, I haven't really seen play too much Narbash, so I wouldn't be too surprised if he still goes back onto that Muriel. He does really favor it. We saw it have some impact during that game. A lot of shields keeping people alive, but late game wasn't having the impact it needed to have to survive. People were still dying even through on a pure quenching as well. And I think Narbash would be the better pick if they are going the Quang route, but just picking Decker flat out is also really strong because it denies it from Synergy. It means they can't get sort of a Howie, Decker, and Bellica if they do go for the triple lineup, and also just allows Bellica with Decker is still also incredibly strong as well.
And they did go with the Severog and the Decker, so there's your jungler right there. We did see PolacyZpolskiPL put out a pretty good performance. He was landing some good subjugates and was really helping initiate, and more so I think what he did the best was peel for his teammates. defensively and also sort of lead people astray from chasing down and said, hey, chase me, the big tanky guy, instead of my carry. Followed up by that is going to be the Howitzer and the Kwong for synergy. The Decker Howitzer last game for synergy, there was, I believe, 2 or 3 engagements where they literally just hit containment fence and make it rain and won the fight. No longer going to be on the field, so that's another thing PL wanted to do in this draft, is not only pick up Decker for themselves, but make sure they don't have to deal with that Wombo combo again.
Yeah, and as I said, they do get the Bellica. They also managed to get the Kwang and the Howitzer in the next round, and you can see this is the thing. If PolacyZpolskiPL had actually gone for a Kwang instead, there would have been another Howie Decker combo right there.
Yeah, right.
Set up for synergy. They could have thrown Bellica sort of into the off lane potentially. At the moment, it looks like Bellica might be actually a support Bellica with a Howitzer mid lane, considering they have a Kwang. And we saw Obel playing Rampage in the jungle before, so we might see the Rampage still being picked up further on down the line to fill out their team composition.
Morgesh, once again, is going to be on the field. The early game for Morgesh was very, very strong. As far as offlaners go, she had 20 to 30 CS around that 5 to 6 minute mark, which is quite impressive. She also was able to get a solo kill on Dimrak on the Sparrow. Sparrow is so synonymous with iCameron that I find myself stopping myself from calling Sparrow just iCameron. I almost did it just in there as well. But yeah, I feel like Morgesh's, especially the way that was played, definitely is a strong offlaner. But what I'm a little bit concerned about is Morgesh's role as it transitions into the later stages of the mid game, as well as the late game itself. Obviously, she's much more mid-game oriented, and also the laning phase is where she really excels. But once that laning phase breaks down, I feel like her impact on the game starts to break down with it.
Yeah, she does a lot better in sort of long, engaging long fights that last over like a minute or two, where people aren't dying that quickly. So she can put out multiple hives and just get that slow DPS tick that she loves to do across multiple people. Kind of long sustained fights where things like Rampage Kit comes in where you can heal up is actually really good for Morgesh, because no one's dying. She can consistently have this hive ticking, forcing a team to make a decision, a sort of make or break decision. Either they retreat or they go all in before the hive damage ticks down and actually has a larger impact.
So there's your final picks right there. Twinblast and Rampage picked up here by Synergy. So I'm assuming that's going to be an offlane Kwong with a jungle Rampage and support Bellica, as you called it there, Jims. And then Yen being brought into the field. So they're not going to go with the Sparrow. Looking at the role of Synergy, as well as how coordinated Synergy was with their CC last game, on top of how much they CC have currently, they pretty much exchanged a Stasis Bomb from Decker for a Seismic Assault on Bellica, both still very long-range, reliable means of CC. I mean, they weren't able to really live with that in the last game. Yin obviously has more defensive capabilities, the mobility with Lipwash, but more importantly, Gale, and also the Reflect. So that's something that we haven't seen much high-level utilization of, is the reflectability that Yin has on projectiles, more specifically the Boulder. So if the reaction time is on point, I imagine it's going to be Abra on this Yin, they actually could punish this Rampage. I mean, even in the laning phase, it's pretty straightforward, but when team fights are very hectic, and you aren't always able to see that Rampage queuing up the Boulder and able to have that on cooldown and be in position to do it, but there's definitely, the Yin's skill cap when it comes to that Reflect is extraordinarily high, but the play potential is completely commensurate with it, to where you can make really big plays with her.
There's also the fact that Rampage has a cooldown on his rock. So you can just start counting down the second you see him pick it up.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He has to throw it. So you ready up. If he's throwing it at the last possible second, you know when it's going to happen.
So there's your draft, guys. Again, after seeing how Morgesh performed in the last game during the laning phase, I really think that if Team PL can maybe build up a little bit more off of the laning phase and get a little bit more going, their long-range, consistent poke between the Gadget Sticky Bomb and obviously Morgesh with Hive and Mark, they can just do long-range sustained damage for days and days and days. While Synergy, they're much more reliant on R2000 Rocket and Void Bomb, which are very easy to avoid. The R2000 rocket, much less so, but Void Bomb, unless there's some form of CC followed up with it, you can pretty much just walk out of. So, yeah, if these are longed engagements and these are just standoffs, Team PL can play this strategy where they can just sort of sit back, continue to throw sticky bombs, marks, hives, maybe land a subjugator or stasis bomb every now and then, and really open up these team fights. So I feel like Synergy is the one who's going to have to be aggressive, which is something that they're very good at. If they don't force these fights, they can find themselves just sort of slowly dying to the draft and the composition and play style of PL.
Yeah, I completely agree right there. And are you ready to hop into this game number 2 between Team PolacyZpolskiPL versus Synergy?
You are, but I'm still loading it in, my man. I'm still loading it in, Gems, because you know me. This is how we do things. We're loading in right now here, guys. So give us just a second here as we get into this. I really like this draft from Team PL, like a lot, like way a lot. If they can play almost this like cat and mouse game where they aren't allowing Synergy to engage on them optimally, they can just sit back and poke.
While I agree, I feel like it's one of those comps where it's incredibly hard to get the right balance between how far in do we go and how far back do we keep peeling out, and it's going to require a lot of really strong communication amongst their team. If they do mess up even one little part of it,
yeah,
you bet you that Synergy is just going to dive straight onto that backline. They're going to go full aggressive and just completely wipe the team before they're able to get the overall slow DPS that they're trying to get.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're ready. Let's do this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Game number 2 has started. PCL EU number 4 of the second semifinals of the day, going into this best-of-3 series. Team PL absolutely has it in them to take this game, keep themselves in this event, and more importantly, try to book themselves a ticket over to the finals. This draft is something that is a very polarizing to what we've seen before, but it all is going to come down to play style. We've talked about Yin. We've only seen her a handful of times, but her DPS potential in the late game is mirrors that of Sparrow. Has a big cleave, a linear cleave, but a cleave nonetheless. Let's introduce these teams. It looks like we might see a possible engagement here at any moment, as is the state of Paragon and the beauty of Paragon. Mort on Lieutenant Bellica, Nick Eagle on Kwong, Talk Flick on Howitzer, Marak on Twinblast, and Obel once again picking up the role of that Rampage.
And on the side of PolacyZpolskiPL, we have Prodigy on the Gadget, Kozu on that Morogesh, Satori on the Deca, Abra on the Yin, and PolacyZpolskiPL on that Sevrog, as we saw in the game before.
So, Yin, we pretty much, as far as builds go with her, she's Fury, triple Madstone Gem, and then transition into... Yin is a carry, I believe, that is... her ability damage isn't that significant at all, so normally she transitions from Madstone Gems into either more raw attack speed, which is sort of an Imsco style. We see Imsco plays Yin. He goes like a Whirling Wand on top of Madstone Gems and just has crazy attack speed, or a little bit more... late game oriented build where you start building into micro nukes or Spear of the Rift Hunters. We'll have to see what that's going to be, but as far as builds goes, I imagine it's just going to be the good old standard triple Madstone Gem, as well as a health potion and maybe a ward. Sometimes they get wards, sometimes they don't. In the competitive environment, it's sort of a stylistic difference, but obviously getting a ward is always a good idea, especially when you're playing against a team as aggressive as Synergy is.
Yeah, you can already see Mort just trying to poke out Kozu from that lane, throwing out a few seismic assault, just getting a little bit of damage on there. But again, top flip, same strategy as we saw him in the other game, where he pushes up around this 2-minute mark, tries to set up for this level 3 river buff, but we see Polak trying to change it up, trying to get this level 2 gank onto top flip, but hasn't been able to succeed just yet with it.
Prodigy's moving forward, knowing that the Severog here has the green buff. It's interesting how we're seeing junglers change the timings of when they pick up the green buff to try to catch their opponent off guard. He doesn't have any mana. It's only level 2, so really doesn't have his full set yet now available. The sticky bomb is on cooldown. They're trying to burn each other down. Obel, it does get taken out. So the jungler for a jungler, very early engagement right before the 3-minute mark, the first river buff spawning. Togflit's at low HP, but he does have enough mana for a mine if he's able to get in range. Mort's coming around the corner, looking for potentially a seismic assault, but instead decided to disengage and run away. River buffs have spawned. Nikki was able to pick up the red buff on the left side of the map, and a blue buff looks like that went over to, who picked that up? There was Mort on the Bellica. So pretty even first engagement, 1 for 1. Both junglers take each other out.
Both trying to get that game advantage. However, Opal still has that green he can grab. It's going to allow him to get near level 3 a little bit late. As I was mentioning, Rampage is a bit later than normal, but because of the fighting, it's been delayed even further. And will we see a gank coming out from him trying to utilize this green buff? I suspect he's going to try either tower dive Kozu or go for this Prodigy in the mid lane.
They won't even need him. A Seismic Assault into the Void Bomb and a grenade. Was able to get it. Now he's going to try to wrap around the corner here and get a kill onto Mort. But instead, here comes Opal with the green buff. If that green buff explodes, he's dead. That's exactly what's going to happen. As Mort is able to get the kill. So Mort staying there, and was unfortunately Sevarog did not calculate Opal rotating over. And that level 3 with the green buff, you said it, isn't going to get anything out of it, and there's your answer. 2 kills, the offlaner, the jungler, and now they're going to pick up a 4-minute tier 1 tower in the offlane. So we'll see what their rotation is. If they continue to push down this tier 2 tower, we're going to see a little bit of a lane switching game here. On the other side of the field, Nick Eagle is just happy as pea in a pod. He's playing a little bit more passively this game as we saw in game number 1, but he's being consistent, he's not giving up kills, and he's getting his levels.
Yeah, it's looking like a much different game coming out from Synergy. A lot more aggression from before, and they aren't dying as much, so they're playing slightly safer overall, and it's actually paying off. They managed to get this tier 1. It means they're going to be able to rotate their duo lane to the Raptor side pre-5 minutes. They can sit there and farm. Nick Eagle has his tower still up, so it makes this duo lane a lot safer if they can get it there in time. And again, builds and points. Opal sitting at 8, Toxic at 8, Emrak at 8, Mort at 8. Whereas the other side, we only have Abra at 8.
A lot of Ochos going across the board here. Continuing to try to push down this tower for Nick Eagle, but again, he's just done a good job utilizing that strong kit of Kwang right here. Mid lane, engagement has gone down where Gadget was taken out, and it looks like Synergy are trying to find some more. I'm not going to be able to. That 5-minute river buff spawning was a double purple buff. Both of them were picked up here by Synergy, I believe, and now they're looking to collapse onto Yin. Yin has no support right now. Has to be careful. Seismic Assault doesn't land. Grenade doesn't land. They're trying to poke her down. They're going to go for the dive here. I don't think they're going to be able to get it, though. So Yin barely able to get away by the skin of her teeth and is going to get away to safety here. That death wouldn't have been the biggest of deal. All the meanwhile, Morgesh is pretty much free pushing, getting some levels and getting some farm, which is good because Morgesh this game thus far has had a little bit more of a struggle. Only at 11 CS. This time last game, she doubled that. But she's getting some free farm and hoping to get that level 5 online as soon as possible.
And Emrak also pushing down this other tier 1 tower incredibly quickly here. The power of Twin Blast, he can do a lot of damage to these towers, but he can push up the lane incredibly quickly. And looking like Polak hasn't been able to do much on Sevarog yet again. It's kind of been an issue he's having in all these games. And I wonder if it's just the pick, or if with the Grux ban he's kind of forced himself into this role where he hasn't been able to play as effectively as he would like. He's already sitting at 0-2, 7 points, a little bit behind across the board.
Now to see what they do. 7 minutes. River buffs are about to spawn here. Sevarog already preemptively putting him in position here. Going to see what's going to be spawning while Nick Eagle mirroring the actions. It's going to be a red buff here for Nick Eagle. A black buff over here on the Sevarog. Still not yet level 5. Doesn't have Colossal Blow online. But with full mana, the Subjugate. You could tell he was going for a longer range Subjugate, but the wall clipped him, and actually the ground receptacle for it which pretty much forced him to get that a little bit closer to him. That's why that looked like a really odd Subjugate, but sometimes those walls around those corners, when you're turning to get that Subjugate in the long range, will all of a sudden clip really close to you. So not able to get it, was able to get the river buff, and just fall back to the jungle and continue to farm, continuing to stack.
Yeah, he's just going to keep stacking. It's one of the advantages, though. Even though he's behind, he still gets a little bit extra of health just from stacks. He can get the extra, you know, stats that he might not be necessarily be able to get from points. And even though they're a little bit behind, again, in about 2 minutes, we're going to see the Raptors come up, and again, they still have a complete opportunity to turn the game around at that point if they do manage to maybe get a pick using the Morgesh, who's really strong at taking out just a single target with abilities.
lane all the way pushed to the tier 2 tower here. A little bit too early for them to fall back to the Raptors to try to force Morgesh out of position for it. But Mort and Imrak... Mort actually has the quenching skills online already. So for this inevitable Raptor fight, they are going to have that other side of the field. Satori, we're going to check that in here in a moment, was able to dodge the Void Bomb. Seismic Assault landed. That Void Bomb hit, that could have been enough damage with a grenade or two and a couple of auto attacks. But Decker is going to be able to get away here. Decker, only a quarter of the way through level 4, is being forced back after that recent engagement. And don't think she's going to be level 5 coming up here. She only has 1 minute to get back into lane to make 3/4 of a level here in a duo lane. Taking a look over at Bellica. And at the same time, level 5 on Bellica, nowhere nearly as important as it is on someone like a Muriel or a Decker or even a Narbash. Her Neural Disruptor is not the reason you get her. It's her Void Drone, it's her Seismic Assault, and after that, it's her Void Bomb. I would say that her ultimate is the most, in this support role, is the most least utilized ability of her kit. We do see Tesla Dome being dropped onto Obel. He is in that enraged form, jumps away with the health regen, so he's okay, but we're looking for a re-engagement here from Synergy. They're all caught up, and they get taken out by the Fury of the Heavens. Nikhil just goes in there, and they were not ready for that invasion into the strong side of their jungle. 20 seconds of no Sevarog and no Gadget. This is their map to do anything they wish with. Looks like they're going to maybe looking to not yet push the Raptors. I think they're just going to clear this wave out, force it to be cleared, and then fall back to the Raptors. I'd imagine that's the call, Gems.
10 seconds till Raptors spawn means that their hand is pretty much tied. They're going to push it up. What I saw from Team Poland is that they overextended incredibly to try to kill Obel.
Yeah.
They didn't manage to secure it, so he was able to completely regen up after the fact, and it allows him to now just come back here to the Raptors, still full health. So it's enough just for maybe one rock or a jump, which is all they'll need to take. Really strong play coming out here from Synergy. 17 points on Emrak. He's got most likely 3 completed items once he backs, and that is going to be a huge power spike for him in the next couple of fights.
Morgesh was looking for a potential kill on a Toxlet. He was pretty well topped off, though, so I don't think he was going to be able to get that. Morgesh going for a very early Thick Blood. Normally, we don't see that card until the later stages of the game. I guess it just... obviously, it has a lot of value coming out for Rampage, mitigating his ability to heal by 40%. We saw the early quenching scrolls by Mort. Satori was able to pick him up. Satori's still not level 5. So, if I'm Team PL right now, I'm saying let's just stay back until Decker hits level 5. Still has a third of a level to go here. And as far as the supports go, when it comes to the card levels, Mort is in a really good role. It seems like he might be level 6 by the time Decker's even level 5 at this stage. So, very, very important for them to get that. But they do have plenty of time to stabilize here before the next major objective.
Yeah, they have a lot of time here. Satori is at around the 12-minute mark. I think 12 to 30 minutes is kind of average for when you get level 5 on a support.
Yeah.
It's kind of dependent on the number of kills, and as we can see here, Mort's actually got 3 kills for himself, so he's managed to grab a little bit of a boost there in terms of how much leveling he's been able to do in comparison to a Decker who isn't really capable of doing it that too easily, unless she just manages to get one of those, long bomb snipes across the ridge or across the river just for the last hit. And I've seen some really good Decker stasis bombs in a couple of videos as well.
When the jump pad was still in the jungle, I always wanted people to be able to use their abilities while flying through the jump pad. And that way you'd see a Decker hit that jump pad as she's cruising across the sky. She drops a stasis bomb midair and hits someone at the inhibitor. But unfortunately, that never was allowed in those. Again, more dreams have been dashed. Morgesh is caught out. She is not in her ethereal form anymore, as it allows her to pass through people. But she is able to get away with that extra speed boost there. Could have been very sticky situation. High views on the Mort. Only hit him, not hitting multiple targets, but still, the DPS is going down, but I'm not sure this is going to be enough to thwart off this push. Mort was looking for a seismic assault, but they were able to get the main target, and that was the mid-tier 1 tower. So, map control firmly in the hands of Synergy right here, and a potential re-engagement, as they were looking to maybe charge a little bit forward. Not the case. So, they forfeited the mid-tier 1 tower. They're going to be falling back here and continuing to just business as usual here, Jims.
Yeah, mid-game sort of lull where they just kind of see what they can grab. We can see Synergy just trying to deny as much the XP here from the link. here, just trying to get a couple of these jungle creeps if they can. Aren't able to actually go for them, but Topflip, he's pretty far ahead here in terms of points. You can see him sitting at 18 points, whereas you can see Prodigy's only at 13, 5-point difference. Already been built 13 minutes into the game. As we mentioned, that is a significant advantage.
Yep.
We see the gank coming out from Nick Eagle and Obel onto Morigesh, taking out Ko.
It pretty much, Obel just wrapped around the weak side of the jungle, cutting off Morigesh. Boulder landed Tether, and that was all she wrote right there. Off the field for 20 seconds. And at this stage, the death timers are not yet significant enough to where really those sort of kills, they just sort of grant you a little bit of breathing space and an economical boost. We're not yet at the stage of the game where those kills can be crippling by any means. Now, if Raptors were up, that's a different story, but they are about to spawn. Morigesh will be on the field, spent all her points, topped off, and ready to take an engagement here. As far as this Yin goes, I haven't really felt much out of her, but I suppose saying that at a 14-minute mark, maybe jumping ahead a little bit too much.
Yeah, she's just trying to keep up in terms of farm. Has fallen a little bit behind, just about 20 points behind of Emrag. Raptors have spawned. Look at the vision control synergy have already pre-placed around the Raptors. There is little to nothing here on the side of Team Poland. They are really struggling here. They don't know exactly who's around. They don't have any knowledge of it, and that might end up being...
Topflip looking for the mine. It's going to hit Satori. If they can take out Decker here, that's going to be huge. No containment fence to worry about. Decker was just a little bit too far forward. Topflip came around the corner, and because of that vision that Synergy had, they were able to get that and restrict the vision from Team PL, and they're going in. Nick Eagle is going to catch out Gadget. The panic and the desperation, Tesla Dome drops down to try to get something going, but that's not going to be the case. Subjugate being used, even if that was the land, not much was going to come from it, and this should be 2 kills and a full set of Raptors going over to Team Synergy.
Topflip using this invis just to kind of steal the jungle creeps off Polak. It means that he's going to be starved even more of points. He's only at 14 points. He's about the same as a support. 0-3 on Sevron. Hasn't really been paying out. He's elected to go for more damage attack speed build, which is why he's getting blown up incredibly quickly. He didn't go for sort of any extra health or armor early. Went for a damage-based build, and that's kind of been punishing him as well for that.
Yeah, he's the lone frontliner of their team. They have no one else to tank damage and to body block and to provide crowd control. And, you know, generally when we see junglers go more DPS oriented is because they have a more tankier offlaner or they have a more tankier support like a Rampage, something like that. But in this situation, it definitely can work out. But when you go that build, if you get behind, it's so difficult to come back. At least when you're tanky, that tankiness is sort of compensating for the fact that you're down on health a little bit and evening up the odds. But he's just going to continue to get blown up in these fights, especially considering the economical advantage granted right now to Synergy by these team fights and just firm Raptor control thus far. This game 1, Synergy has just been in complete control of, and looks like there's no signs of letting up right now.
Yeah, it's a complete difference from the game number 1 where we saw PolacyZpolskiPL actually... It was a 50-50 game for the majority of it. They were putting up a really good fight. And this game, it feels like they haven't been able to do that. They've, I think, been put onto different picks they might not be as comfortable on. Polak in the jungle hasn't been playing as effectively as he would like. And that is the power of Bellica, as you see right there.
Forces out the containment fence. With it only being a level 1 containment fence. Very, very long cooldown. So now they're maybe looking for a push. Knowing that's on cooldown, they definitely can exploit that advantage. Obel's going to go into the rage form. Boulder right up against the wall. Prodigy again. A desperation panic Tesla Dome, but he continues to get caught out here. And the seamless crowd control, the seamless coordination coming out from said crowd control is just too on point. Top flick, teleblinks forward, Boulder lands, a rocket, seals the deal. Now they're continuing to look to get more. Nick Eagle runs in there. Gets the tether onto Satori, once again falls immediately after resurrecting from the previous death. Pretty much a free tier 2 tower at this stage of the game. And this is going to be a very early inhibitor siege. Their carry's being forced to back. Yin's not going to be here in this. It's only Morigesh, and Morigesh does not have the tools to deal with this inhibitor push. So 18-minute inhibitor without the prime card. And that's just really just the... I feel like Team PL is starting to... Their coordination is slipping up, and Synergies is not. and they're just taking full advantage of that.
They get a pick, then they get another pick in line. It's just that has been what's been happening. Team PL is just consistently just dying one after the other, and not giving up a few objectives. I mean, giving the kills and the objectives is a lot worse than just giving up the tier 2 and waiting a little bit or stalling. And it might have been just a thing. They thought they can hold it off, but Synergy recognized it, and they were like, okay, we can keep pushing it. We've got a few of them. Most of us are relatively healthy here. If we get another kill here under the tower, we can get the tower. And that is exactly what happened. And it led all the way up into an inhibitor, which is actually pretty devastating here, because now they can use this mid lane as an avenue to take this prime, should they choose.
Toxic on this howitzer has been setting up so many kills. A much more aggressive play style. Normally we see landmines sort of be a afterthought, allowing other heroes on the team to knock people out of position, used in the middle of a team fight, and not as opposed to start a team fight or to get a pick off. So the style of play on this howitzer, I'm a big fan of it personally. He's really been getting a lot of value. The purple buff on Mort, able to get the seismic assault, the landmine, and just completely blown up right there. I don't think they realized that a river buff, the Shadow Realm river buff, spawned at that stage right at the 19-minute mark. Bellica was able to pick that up. I know Morgesh is off the field. Raptors to be had, and I don't think Team PL is going to be contending this whatsoever. They're not. As you already see, Nick Eagles just sort of preemptively looking around the jungle to zone anyone out that may wander over to that area.
Again, the next set of Raptors going over to Synergy here, increasing this lead they have been building themselves this whole time. Satori might be a little bit caught out here in his own jungle.
Able to dodge both of the CCs, all three of the CCs. Uses the containment fence. Again, he's going to live, but a level 1 containment fence is such a long cooldown, especially with this tier 2 tower being under siege, all 5 team members. The economical lead is just such at an advantage here for Synergy that they're making pushes with only the smallest of advantages outside of that economics. There's no one dead. They don't have a prime card or anything like that. So they're going to continue to siege us down. You can tell Team PL know that they're in a bad spot, not putting up even any defense whatsoever to that. They're just looking to make their stand here at the inhibitor. They're going to have to be careful about creep, constantly pushing into mid lane. A very tense moment for the Polish team. And this is going to be a make-or-break moment. There's a seismic assault. Is there a tether? And he just gets, good lord, just pretty much 100 to 0'd instantly. And Morgesh is off the field. Severog has to deal with the creep in the mid lane. And I'm not sure that Team PL is going to be able to defend this inhibitor here, Jims.
No, it's looking really grim here for the side of Team PL, and that looks like it's going to be a second inhibitor after. They didn't even use the prime. And
Prodigy gets blown up very early on in that. Again, the aggressive movement forward by Togflick into the Make It Rain. Decker gets taken out, but able to do anything. The Whiplash is going to be used, the Gale to be used. Is he able to keep himself alive? Nope! The Void Bomb coming out from Mortirian on the Bellic is going to be too much. Togflick, again, this Teleblink. So much value. 2 inhibitors. They get the handful, and they're going to take the game on to the finals. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. There is your finals matchup. It's going to be Synergy versus Team Think Twice. Familiar names, and I think we have quite a game ahead of us here, Jims, judging by the playstyle of these two teams.
Yeah, both these teams have played against each other a lot. So it's going to be interesting to see how that also plays out, because a lot of these players know a lot of the tendencies of each other. They've been playing in solo queue a lot, they'll play in scrims a lot together, and they're both really new, sort of, not really new teams, but teams that have come up and started to show themselves a lot more in tournament play, and we're going to be seeing a lot more of them in the coming tournaments in PCL, NA, and EU, and I'm interested to see how far these guys can get.
Well, guys, stay tuned. You are not going to want to miss this finals. It's going to be a slobber knocker, no doubt about it whatsoever. We're going to take a small break, get these teams set up, get the replay loaded in, and get into the finals between the Synergy and Think Twice. See you guys in just a moment for the finals.